It's 5 o'clock here in the UK, and I hope everybody had a really good day today. Sorry, I'm a bit kind of like low on my voice. I've just got a sore voice. I need to get a drink in a minute. I managed to get a can of Coke. Cheers. Anyway, and Susan's got water. So to run out and get the water, guys. She did really, really. Anyway, if you're listening to me on radio, guys, please don't forget leave the messages in the left-hand column where I can see, not the right because I won't be able to see them. And you know, guys, you know what it's all about, don't you? Okay. So, Susan, tell us about yourself.
Oh, well, hello, Steve, and your
Hello.
audience. I am a retired physician. I live in Austin, Texas. I used to practice neonatology. That is the critical care of newborn infants and premature babies. And I practiced neonatology for 34 years. Loved every minute of it. I used to attend high risk deliveries and took care of lots of twins and triplets and quads and quints. And it was a great experience practicing medicine in the NICU. While I did that, I raised 3 children while I worked full time. I have a son and 2 daughters, and my son is a cinematographer in Los Angeles. My daughter is a pediatric ICU nurse in Austin, and my younger daughter is still in school.
Gosh.
I am married to a physician, and so he and I always had each other to bounce things off of throughout our medical careers. And he was a great help to me while I worked a lot and while we raised our children.
Brilliant. Really good. Really good. And so, when you were kind of like, are you classed as a doctor then?
Am I what?
Are you classed as a doctor?
I am a doctor. I'm an MD.
Yeah.
I got my MD degree in South Carolina, where I grew up. And then I traveled to Dallas, Texas for my pediatric residency degree. That was 3 years. And then I moved to Houston, Texas for my neonatology fellowship training. That was another 3 years. So in the US, you have to have 4 years of med school, 3 years of residency or more, and 3 years of fellowship training to be a subspecialist.
Gosh. Gosh. I got someone just come up here, someone called Beth, and she said, "Hi, Steve. I'm Beth. Um, I'm from Florida. I am a midwife, and I love my job." There you go. And it's I I reckon to being a doctor to look after babies and everything. I bet that was a sweet little job you had, wasn't it? Sometimes, and a rewarding job.
It was very rewarding. It was not always sweet because some of the little babies were very, very sick. Midwives do a fabulous job of delivering low risk moms, sometimes in the hospital, sometimes at home. Neonatologists, unfortunately, always take care of the smallest premature babies and full term babies who get sick. So things are not rosy when we're needed. The pregnancy has had a complication, or mom's blood pressure's out of control, or premature labor has occurred, and the parents are completely in a state of shock because of the early delivery or because their baby is born sick. And so it can be a challenge to work with parents in this situation. The medical aspects of taking care of the babies in the NICU are fairly straightforward. We have good ventilators, we have good IV fluids, we know how to feed breast milk to tiny babies. We have artificial surfactant for babies with immature lungs. But the hardest part of the job is shepherding the parents along because it is such a rocky road. They start out being very scared, very fearful. Some of the moms even feel guilty. They get used to all the wires and tubes and strange beds and change of shift nursing. And then they sort of settle in for the long haul. Now, moms who want to breastfeed their babies in the NICU have to pump their breast milk for days and sometimes even weeks before they will ever be able to breastfeed their baby. So the experience is very traumatic for the parents who have to go through it. And I bet some of your listeners have been NICU parents because about 10% of babies will need some sort of specialty care after delivery.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I bet they are. Yeah. And the trouble is, so when the babies are born and if they have difficulties like breathing, or if they come and they've died and everything, what's the situation then? What happens if when a baby dies?
When a baby dies, thank God that's rare these days. The neonatologist, the NICU nurse stay with the family and give the parents the time they need to say goodbye to their baby. Sometimes that's a number of hours, and it can take place in a quiet place outside of the NICU. Occasionally, a neonatal autopsy is in order, a postmortem examination to look for birth defects and other things that may have contributed to the baby's death. Once the parents have said goodbye and are ready to go home, then the baby's body is taken to the hospital morgue, and most parents will then have a funeral for their baby later. The NICU does celebrate moms and dads who have lost a baby, and every year they will have a service remembering babies that we lost. Now, on the other hand, every year we have a neonatal reunion where babies who survived and thrived come back and see all the doctors and nurses, and we are able to see them and their beautiful toddlers and little children, and their parents are so excited to show us how well they have done and how they appear to be perfectly normal children. So the neonatal reunion is a happy, happy time, and it counterbalances our sometimes need to be with parents when they lose a baby.
Let's flip the coin. When babies are born and everything, families are delighted. I remember having my first one, not literally my first, when my wife had her first one, I was over the moon. And you know, only time I was on the floor is when I cut the baby's cord and I fainted. But do you get any special moments when a baby is born? Do you get those moments where you're thinking this was worth it?
Oh my God, I get those moments all the time. If we're called to a difficult delivery or a delivery that's expected to be, that is high risk, where the baby's expected to be sick, regardless of how sick the baby is, once the obstetrician hands me the infant, I will show that baby to mama and let her touch or kiss. It's rare that we will, take the baby away from mom and dad quickly to the NICU. Occasionally that's necessary, but not always. The way that mothers and fathers bond to their children when they're sick is just as crucial as when they're well. So having a baby is a huge milestone in life for women and for fathers too. And allowing that process to happen, that attachment, that bonding, that special intimate moment to happen is vital. And I love having been able to do that. It was a great privilege for me to be at so many deliveries and help so many parents through a difficult time when they had a sick baby. And when the baby was well and things were fine, it was a pleasure to watch mom and dad celebrate and be joyous over having a well baby. So
Oh.
yeah, that experience is quite a special thing in life.
And so, what do you do now then? You're a speaker now as well, aren't you?
I have written a book.
But yeah, yeah.
My book is called So Many Babies: My Life Balancing a Busy Medical Career and Motherhood. In my book, I tell stories about my most special patients. They're all very special, but some stayed 4, 5, 6 months, and I got to know their parents very well, or their parents taught me crucial life lessons. And I've written about those babies and those parents in my book. I've also written about the challenges that I faced as a working mother while I was working full time in the NICU. And I weave those two stories together because that's how it happened in my life. Excuse me. I've tried to give people an accurate picture of what life in the NICU is like for the healthcare workers, the doctors and nurses and respiratory therapists, as well as the parents and the babies. And I've also tried to paint an accurate picture of a working mother. I believe that all working mothers struggle to balance how they spend time with their children, their husband, their family, and how they spend time and effort at work. I've never met a working mother who is satisfied with that balance or that imbalance commonly. Most working mothers really want to do a good job at work. They also really want to be good mothers. And that is a really tall order for women today. It is a lot of work to be at work and have someone else take care of your children. It's a lot of work to be at home with your children and not worry about what you've got going on at work. And I think my story will provide reassurance to other working mothers. And that's my hope for my book.
Really, really good. And let's go back to the years. Let's just go back. You know, what made you want to go into the medical effect? You know, what made you want to be a doctor?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm not quite sure. I liked math and science. I loved biology as early as high school. I had a job working in medical records at a general hospital in my hometown. And the medical record librarian tried to convince me that I could do whatever I wanted. And I think she recognized that I was smart and I liked biology. And she took me to meetings and I got to listen to the doctors and other people in the hospital interact. And so I said, well, medicine seems interesting. After my third and fourth year summers in college, I was able to work as a scrub tech in the operating room at that same general hospital. And that solidified my love of medicine. I handed instruments to surgeons and got to watch all the operations. And so I was convinced that going into medicine was right for me. I always loved biology. I still love human biology and breastfeeding and lactation. And so in medical school, I went in there thinking I wanted to be a surgeon, but I changed my mind by my fourth year and decided to go into pediatrics for a number of reasons. And then during my pediatric residency, I chose neonatology as my subspecialty. So it was a little bit of this and that and a circuitous route, but it started with a love of science and mathematics.
And when you kind of like grow, sorry, I lost something. Yeah, something flew by me, and it was something. Sorry about that. When you kind of like left university, you got your degree and everything. I bet that was a moment in your life thinking, right, this is what I want to do.
Yes, my transformational moment, having grown up in South Carolina, was in the 50s, where women were supposed to be, housewives and stay-at-home moms.
Yeah.
When I got my MD degree and decided to move to Dallas, Texas, which was really far away from South Carolina, that was my transformational moment. That was when I knew that I could do whatever I wanted to, that I didn't have to be married to be a good person. And that would come later, as it turns out. I could pursue my dreams, and I could be brave and make my own path. And so that was the point when I felt like I was smart enough and good enough and brave enough to strike out for a new life.
Gosh. And sorry, there's a bit of a delay here. We got put. When you were kind of like, when you moved there and you started kind of like practicing as a doctor, and was it babies that you always wanted to deal with, or was it something else?
At first, it was children in general.
Right.
I love children. Even now, whenever I see a kid anywhere out in public, I always wave and smile and try to get a reaction out of them. So I fell in love with children, and then I liked pediatric critical care medicine. And then I fell in love with neonatology. So there was mothers and babies, there were families, there was critical care medicine. It was still pediatrics, and it fit for me. And I felt like that was the perfect thing, that I didn't need to do surgery.
Yeah. When you kind of like written your book and you put you put everything in your book and everything, and when it came out, that was another achievement for you, because you wanted to write that book, because everything that you've been through, like your life and everything, and about the family and everything, you know, what did your husband say? Because he's in the same job as you, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a little bit older than me, so
Yeah.
but he didn't retire as early as me. I retired when I was 64. He retired when he was 68, I think. He always said I could do whatever I wanted to do, and he was tolerant of my being a feminist and a working mother and having opinions about everything under the sun. But I have to tell you that 2 years before I retired, I was burnt out. A lot of people talk about physician burnout now because of the pandemic. And I'm here to tell you that burnout feels horrible. I was there. At age 62, I was physically exhausted. I was emotionally exhausted. I had detached from my patients, and I felt like I was no longer making a difference in the NICU. I had grown cynical and negative, and and so I took an opportunity. It was really a blessing. I was given an opportunity to work part-time in a small labor and delivery unit. And I went to work about 35 hours a week, taking night call only one night a week, and taking care of normal newborns, normal mothers and babies. And I recovered. I managed to get through burnout by working less, by playing piano, by having lunch and long discussions with good friends, by reading novels, by exercising. I love exercise. It's really a great mood booster. And I recovered from my burnout over a 2-year period. And so when I retired at age 64, I decided to write a book about my experience. And that's how the book came about. I wanted to put on paper everything that had happened to me and for me throughout my medical career and as a mother.
Yeah, yeah. What's it like to be mother to your children today? Because your children's probably grown up now and probably married and left home. So after having your children and they've all grown up, what's it like today to be a mum?
I love being a grandmother, and I also love being a mother of adult children. My son is 37, married, no kids. My daughter is 34, married happily with 2 children, a 4-year-old and an 8-month-old, and I adore her kids. And I love watching her be a mother. She's a working mother too. She's a pediatric ICU nurse.
Well done.
And it's just lovely to see that my children are accomplished and adjusted. And they're not perfect. Nobody has perfect children, but I love this stage of my life because I can help when I want to, and I can be a grandmother, which is the best thing because you don't have to be with them 24/7. So it's been wonderful. I think the transition from mother to grandmother is one of life's greatest blessings.
Great, brilliant, very good. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for joining me. And it's a lot of people kind of like emailed me and messaged me saying, what a wonderful story. We only touched the surface on this story. Would
Yeah.
it be possible if I can come get you back and talk to you some more?
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Can I tell people about my website where they can find my?
Yeah. I was just about to ask that too at your website. Don't
Oh,
worry.
thank you. SusanLandersMD.com gives you information about me, takes you to links to buy the book online at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Apple Books, wherever. I have a blog there. Write about issues that working moms care about. I have a way to contact me. I love feedback from working mothers and parents, and I would love for people to read my book.
Yeah. So make sure that you get Susan's book. I tell you what, I went on Susan's podcast, not podcast, Susan's blog the other day, and I was reading some blogs, and there was one because I deal with obesity and mental health. There was
Mhm.
one on it there was really really good to read. It was how to tell if your teenager has an eating disorder,
Oh yeah, wow.
and and that was well put, and that was really good. So there are blogs are really Susan's blogs are really really good, guys, and I recommend that. But also get her book;
Thank you.
it's fascinating. We we only we we only cover the surface. Okay, so I'm
Thank
hoping
you.
to get Susan back and we can talk about her book and dive into her book more because it's really, really good, guys. I'm not
Oh,
just saying that; it's really good.
oh, thanks, Steve. That's really nice of you to say. And yeah, that issue that teenagers with eating disorders is such a problem right now with the Instagram influence. Oh, I'd love to talk to you more about that. It is such a
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you what. That's what I do. I do with obesity. I'm an ambassador for, and I've just come ambassador actually for Cocktail, for charity for Cocktail.
hmm
So but yeah, I'd love to get you back and get you to talk about more about your book and everything.
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Congratulations on that book because it's really good.
Thank you, Steve. Take
Okay.
care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Are you there? Nope. Bye bye.